Hello and welcome to the Fabulous Women Podcast Studio. I'm your host, Kim Allen. All of my episodes are great, but this one is crazy great. I've got a wonderful guest. Everyone, please welcome Michelle Pope. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
So a lot of people don't realize it, maybe you do, but I have the privilege of speaking to all of my guests always before the podcast, maybe about a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance. And I really get to know them. And what I love about doing my podcast is that I know what you don't know yet. And I get really excited about every podcast because I know what's coming. I know how much you're going to learn and I know how much fun you're going to have. So here we go. We are going to not just talk about Michelle Pope, which I'm going to do in a second, but we're going to learn more about her. So the name of this episode, in case you don't know, is this: The Power of Connection in Tech. Michelle Pope on strategy, STEM, and women who rise. So she is the perfect guest for this podcast. Michelle, I'm going to read your bio first, and then I'm going to ask you questions. Is that okay with you?
That's great, Kim. Shoot.
All right. So I don't ever try to memorize someone's bio because it's always so impressive. So here we go. So Michelle Pope, as a highly experienced professional in operations and business management, Michelle dedicated her career to driving strategic growth and operational excellence. Michelle's passion lies in transforming organizations, creating high-performing teams, and delivering unparalleled client experiences. With a background in technology and healthcare, she has honed her expertise in both operational and technical aspects, empowering herself to lead complex and dynamic initiatives with confidence. More so, her strength lies in her ability to leverage strategic insight, foster collaboration, and execute with precision. Her tenure as president and chief operating officer of a former company provided her the opportunity to drive the company's strategic direction, lead business development, and ensure operational excellence. Currently, she works for a fantastic company called MTMG. And there, as COO, she works with clients to lead business transformation initiatives focused on helping organizations streamline processes, improve performance, and build culture centered on employee engagement. I wrote a book on engagement, so holla about that. And client relationship management. Expertise in operational efficiency, continuous improvement, and leadership development. Michelle works to help clients transform their business operations while building high-performing teams. So that is your bio. One thing that I'm going to add, because I had that on actually separate notes, but I wanted everyone to know her academic background, which is quite lovely. Her background, her education is in computer programming, PMP certification, that's in project management. I know a lot about that because of my husband. Also, executive continuing education and computer engineering. What? Again, I'm not even adding all of where her degrees and certifications are from, but mentions are Johnson & Wales University, Harvard Business School, and Bryant University. Did I get that right, Michelle?
You did. And I did some higher education around leadership development at the Disney Institute.
Okay, we're going to talk about that now. I wasn't prepared, but we're doing it. So what did you learn with Mickey and Minnie? You got to tell me everything.
It was a fabulous leadership program, and it strengthened my awareness around the type of leader that I wanted to be and how I could help emerging leaders grow and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And really cool story. We got to go only so far, but we got to go into the underground tunnels and see what
Oh,
happens under
so
Disney.
cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Wow. I love it. So I'm just curious, what is different about learning about leadership there versus, for instance, going to Harvard for your continuing education?
Yeah, great question. Disney's all about the experience, right? So that their
Mm-hmm.
focus is on the customer. They don't do things for themselves as far as this process is easier for us. They
Mm-hmm.
do it for that client experience. For instance, all the garbage barrels have a trap door so that
Really?
they can expend or take the garbage out so you don't see garbages overflowing in the parks. That wouldn't be a very good customer experience. So it's all built around
Hmm.
making the customer happy and making it enjoyable for them because they know that families are saving up for these trips and these kids have to have that amazing experience. So it was a really different experience than a collegiate leadership program.
That is so cool. So what is it called again with what do they have under the trash cans?
It's
What's it called?
a trap door that
Trap
empties the
door.
trap.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't see people carrying trash bags around. It just goes right
I love
down
that.
into the tunnels and there's chutes.
I'm gonna have my husband build that in our house so we
That's
never have to take the trash out again. I love that. Okay.
yeah. I always say I want a laundry one so I don't have to go up and down the stairs.
We'll invent that together. Okay. Love that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. All right. So before we begin with the questions, is there anything that you would like to say, or do you have any questions for me or the audience?
No, I just think it's been a really great experience meeting you and collaborating with you and the conversations we've had to date have been just so much fun. So I'm excited to be here.
That's fantastic. Okay, we're going to be starting with the questions. So everyone that knows me knows that I bucket my questions because I'm a very curious person. I need to know everything. And I want you to know everything. So actually, the first set of questions I have for Michelle, it's all about grounding her story. I do have one question first because this is in the question, and I need to understand something because for the audience, full transparency, Michelle comes from a IT for technical IT background. So for me, what that means, because I know nothing about it, is going to Best Buy to the Geek Squad. What her industry has nothing to do with that. All right. And I'm hoping that she can explain it in English because again, that part is brand new to me. So I really want to become an expert quickly. Michelle, what is MSP leadership?
So, an MSP is a managed services provider. So, very different than Best Buy. When you are reaching out to an MSP, you're looking for strategic guidance on the tools and technology and services that you need
Okay.
to provide, whether it is support to your customer base or to your internal support. And it's everything from the product, the software, but also implementation services and then managed services, meaning they safeguard your environment, they oversee your environment 24/7, 365, depending on the different tiers of services that you provide. So they're really your trusted partner throughout, not just for an implementation or to buy a piece of product. It's throughout your engagement.
Okay. Oh, you're saying that E word again. I love that. Okay. So, Michelle, you've built a long, respected career in technology from MSP leadership to fractional COO work. When you look back, what moments most shaped how you lead today?
So you had mentioned in my bio, and don't bios make you sound just so impressive? I'm sure
Well, you
people
are
were,
impressive.
yeah, I'm sure people were listening to you and going, "What the hell does that all mean?" But in the bio, it mentioned that I started my career off technical. I went to school for programming, and I have never programmed a day in my life unless it was for fun, on the side. But I find myself extremely technical, and I think that's what's helped grounded me in my role, regardless if it was in an MSP, it was in healthcare, or I had a stint in education
Mhm.
as well. It really applies across all verticals. But it allows me to understand and be able to talk with folks about their problems a little bit better, being technical. So I started off in administration, went into engineering. I was a pre-sales engineer for sales, so I would drive alongside the sales team to help match products and solutions to the customer's pain points.
Wow.
And I think one of the most defining moments for me were I was working for an organization in Providence for several years. I ended up at a leadership level, and throughout my career, I had an MSP I was working with that I became very familiar with and friendly with the CEO. And I just remember him coming to me one day in Providence and saying, "Let's grab a cup of coffee." and he was building this amazing MSP, and it was small to mid-size at the time. And he said, I really love you and what you're about, and I want to find a role for you. Well,
Wow.
two years later, I joined as that application engineer that I was speaking of. It was a newly founded role within his organization, and it transformed an 18-year journey with that organization. And we're still friends today. We still work together.
Wow.
I'm helping with a conference that they have coming up. But what it allowed me to do was really stretch my capabilities throughout the entire organization. While we all had job descriptions, we weren't held within
Right.
that job description. Somewhere on my resume, it said that I had done project management. Next thing I know, I'm building a PMO. I'm bringing
Wow.
PMP certification to the team. I'm doing the
Wow.
certification alongside of them.
Hmm.
And I had the ability to grow with some phenomenal leaders. We all started off as individual contributors and we became the C suite throughout that 18 years.
Wow.
And our leader was just so inspirational. He challenged us, he pushed us outside of our comfort zone, and he allowed us to take chances, make mistakes, and grow throughout that process. So I think
Wow.
that was probably the most I learned about, you know, technical acumen, project management, leadership, but also self discovery.
Wow. Oh, I love hearing that. So when you're talking about exactly what happened, which is how you lead today, the next set of questions are really about your career arc. So you've worked deeply in infrastructure, security, and I have, it's not telephony,
Telephony.
telephony.
Hmm.
Okay. Never heard that before.
Yeah, it's your phone systems at
Well, that I
organizations.
know, but I've
Hmm.
never heard it. I've actually never seen that in print before.
Hmm.
But anyway, area is still very male dominated, male dominated. What did you have to learn early on just to be taken seriously, Michelle?
So there's a couple of things that I learned, and just to be transparent, there were two women leaders in that organization that I spoke of. All the rest were male, but the CEO did not lead with that intent that it was supposed to be male and it was a male-dominated space. So it was a space that was very open and receptive to women leaders. And I think we just think from a different side of the brain. Like I would be in, boardroom settings and I had all these great leaders that loved to ideate, and they would have all these great ideas and they would come up with all these strategic plans, but they weren't necessarily good at execution. And I think that's
Mm,
where a woman leader has that good mix of strategy and execution. But I struggled because I was such a great executioner, and well, that's a bad word to use because it can mean multiple things. But I was great at the execution, so
right.
they didn't look at me from the standpoint of, well, I have strategy, I have
Yes.
thoughts, I can
Yes.
develop strategic plans
Right.
and ideas for products and services. So I had to learn very early on that I had to show that mix of not only I can execute upon our plans, but I can also help to develop plans and then put them into action. The other thing I learned is that I I consume information best when I'm typing notes.
Mm,
And you have to be careful in a boardroom setting because you become the note taker. So
yes.
you're the assistant, right? And then
Yes.
everybody wants your notes at the end because you take really great notes. So now we have technology that does it for us, applications like Fathom and such, that
Mm,
we can be more present and engaging and allow those notes to be taken for us. So I had to really understand, just because I liked doing it didn't necessarily present me really well in the boardroom. So I had to
yeah.
change some of the things that, I like to do and how I communicated. And you have to communicate very clear and concise with precision, and really hit the mark in the points. And the other thing I learned was you have to actively listen. So it's not about being a voice in the room, it's listening to where the conversation's going, helping to drive the conversation where it needs to go, and validate that you are listening to what is being said.
Right. Right. I interviewed a woman recently who said, exactly what you did, that she liked to take notes. I'm a note taker myself, and
Hmm.
that's how I learn. And to make a long story short, the woman said that she had to stop taking notes. This was really before AI, which AI is still kind of new, because whenever people came in, especially if they were in the boardroom meeting with clients who did not know the people within the organization, and it was the first time meeting, everyone assumed that she was an admin or
Yeah.
a secretary. She was the vice president. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, the other thing that it does, and I've been in settings where I'm leading a conversation and somebody is actively typing on their laptop. Are they taking notes or are they multitasking and they're not giving you the attention that you deserve in that setting? So it can be seen as you're not engaged.
That's true. However, in my book, Reengaged, and of course, I don't have a copy right now because I'm not in my typical office doing this podcast, but actually, because of the way that we learn, we also, we have visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. And one thing because I agree with you, but I now know that there's a large percentage of our population, they're audio learners. So they can
Hmm.
actually be looking down and they hear everything you're saying. Those are people that can actually listen to podcasts on in their car or as they're walking. And for me, if I did that, I miss my exit ramps, right?
Yes,
Because I'm so visual. But you're right, we bring all this up. But I mean, I think it just goes to show how much we need to know and understand about our audiences. So okay.
absolutely.
So the next set of questions are, again, women in tech and STEM. So you're passionate about supporting women in STEM, especially young women, Michelle. What do you think we're still getting wrong in how we encourage girls into tech and math?
So the numbers are still very staggering about how many women are in technology and young women in
Yeah.
technology. I have a 19-year-old daughter in college, and my spouse and I are both in the technology field. And
Mm,
she said from day one, no way. But she is the most technology savvy individual. She can teach herself anything from playing a guitar, reading sheet music, to learning how to use a Mac, which I still
mm.
don't know how to do. And, it was hard for me to explain to her, but you are technical. So I think
Mm,
what we're not doing well is that we're still making STEM sound like it's technical, that you
mhm,
need to have that technical slant instead of transformational. There, processes, strategy, business transformation, all of that is part of STEM. Yes, there may be technology solutions and things that you have to implement to be part of that, but
mhm.
I think we narrow the definition of STEM too much.
I love that. I've not heard that before. So, for women already in tech who feel invisible or boxed in, what's one mindset shift that made a difference for you?
Well, I think again, I was very fortunate to be in an organization for such a long time where there wasn't that bias, but it was still there, especially with our clients, right? Oh,
Right.
you're bringing in the girl engineer. Was the guy too busy? Um, you know, I think the biggest thing is you're not there to prove yourself. You're there to contribute. So once you can stop saying, I need to prove myself, I need to compete with these male leaders next to me and say, what is my contribution? How can I bring something that they're not bringing?
Mm,
You're not going to be able to make that shift, right? If you're sitting back and waiting to be recognized, and you're not out there self-promoting or contributing and being part of those conversations, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
I like that. That's really well said. So, for the next set of questions about networking and community and power, you're a natural connector, Michelle. How do you distinguish between real professional community and transactional networking?
So transactional networking is just that, right? You're going into a conversation with an end goal. I need to sell you a product, a service. I need to get you to sign up with my organization. I need to get you to my next event so I can bring up my attendance. Whereas being a connector and being a networker, you're working the long-term goal, right? You're building a relationship that is long-term. May something come out of it down the road? Yes, but you're not going in there with a I need something from you.
Right,
You're going in really connecting, learning about the individual, understanding, each other's strengths and
right.
areas where you can help support them. So
Yep.
it's very different. And I think that um, longer term relationships are game changers. You never know when you're going to be tapping on that person because they have an expertise that you really need.
Right.
And so I have relationships where it was funny when I found myself moving to executive consultant. I was calling people that I worked with 20 years ago, and they were picking up the phone. That's a
Mm,
long-term relationship. And it
right.
wasn't because I was looking for a job. It was just because I wanted to reach out to my network just to say, hey, if you need support, I'm here.
Right. Love that. So after you had well, you didn't mention this, but it was part of the bio that in your resume. I didn't let the audience know that you went through a company liquidation, which can shake even the strongest leaders. And so, Michelle, how did that experience reshape how you value relationships and community?
So it made me understand the importance of those long-term relationships that I was just talking about. You
Hmm.
know, those investments you made in relationships before you actually needed them,
Hmm.
right? When I found myself going through that process of an acquisition, I knew there was a end game of me, moving out of the organization. Well, that's where those long-term relationships came in key for me because it helped me to find my new opportunities. It
Right.
helped me to engage my network. um, and when you're going through an acquisition, it really shows who's in it to
Hmm.
continue to support when
Right.
there's nothing really to gain, right? You're just there
Yes.
trying to help the company and
Yes.
and and move into the new world that they're moving into. And if you're committed throughout that process, it just shows your commitment overall.
Yeah. No, that is so true. Okay, so the next batch of questions are my favorite about leadership style and presence. A lot of people know me as an elite executive coach or a podcaster. Um, I actually do a lot. But actually, one thing I did a long time ago was become certified as the image consultant.
Mhm.
So, and you and I had a conversation about this. So I love talking about this. I think it's so important. Michelle, you described yourself as somewhere between an introvert and an extrovert. How has that informed your leadership style, especially in high stakes executive rooms?
Again, I touched on this earlier. I can be seen as an introvert because I really like to listen and understand what is going on and read the room. And if I'm doing that and I'm not engaging, then I'm not doing the best. I'm not showing up the best way for Michelle.
Right.
So, I've learned to read the room very quickly to understand, the social styles of the people that are in the room so that I can interact with them when
Mhm.
they're, being direct. I can't come at them being direct as well. I have to be more, engaging in a different way. And what it has allowed me to do by reading the room quickly, understanding the players in the room and the social styles, look for ways to build that trust more quickly.
Yeah.
I'm there to help support them. I'm there to contribute, and I understand, what they may be going through.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you froze. You did not freeze. What you said is so important. I think the hardest thing for anyone is that they do not know how to read a room. And I think my sixth sense, I must have been an FBI agent in a past lifetime because I can read in a nanosecond and walk in a room without knowing anyone and they're having conversations with me. I'm reading everything. So I agree with you completely that being an introvert and an extrovert, it doesn't matter which one you are, but I think that at times we have to swing both ways. I'm a triple type A extrovert. I don't apologize for that. And I love deep listening. So when I'm deep listening, people say to me, Kim, you're quiet. And that's because I'm
R-
listening. So again,
Right.
we all need to swing on that spectrum. My next question is that, and I love this one, that you worked with an executive coach who helped you refine your professional presence. What do women often underestimate about how presence impacts opportunity? Everyone's going to be leaning into this answer, Michelle.
It
As a
was
woman.
such an experience going through that with,
Yeah,
she was my executive coach, and she also was a style and image consultant.
yeah,
And I thought I had a really great image. And what I found was my image was very corporate. so I always had the business suit on,
Of
skirt,
course.
suit,
Yep.
pantsuit, high
Yep.
heels,
Yep.
and it really didn't show who I was personally, and I didn't have my sense of style in there that would show, Michelle's not just that corporate stuffy executive. She has, you know, an ideal of who she is, but she's not really presenting herself well wearing those business suits. Not saying there's anything wrong with business suits,
No,
but you
not
can
at all.
add some flair
Yeah.
to it, some fun shirts underneath or, accessories. But what presence shapes is part of your competency as well, right?
Right.
So let's say you're underdressed for the occasion, right? Or you go in and it's a business casual and you're more casual and you've got jeans and sneakers on. You're not presenting yourself as an equal, right? So your presence really helps you not only be seen as the person that you want to be seen as,
Yeah.
but it also helps you feel more confident,
Right.
right? When you fit in with the room and you have your sense of style going, and it helps build up your momentum and your ability to play at that boardroom table. Um, and your presence helps you to understand how to treat others, right? So I've worked based on my knowledge of working with this coach and the image consultant, to help others as well.
Mm.
And I remember, my one of the leaders I worked with in the past, had the funky hair, the earrings, the nose ring, you know, I don't know what else was there, but is that how you want to be seen? So, we went through some, okay, let's just start by maybe taking out the nose ring.
Right.
You can have your earrings and your funky hair because that's part of your style and who you are, but you have to really understand who you're working with and how they're
Right.
going to perceive what you're wearing or how you look.
Yeah. No, that's true. I agree with you completely, because I come from the pharmaceutical world and the medical
Yeah.
field, and I did that. I had 10 navy suits, 10 black suits. The specific briefcase, the BMW. I did all that. My hair
Hmm.
was more like yours, right? And that's great. But then I just decided, yep, and it's funny because not that you care, but my daughter lives in Denmark. So when you look at the Scandinavian countries, when we go over there, I mean, my haircut is my haircut. I've had this for a couple decades, I think, at this point, but I decided on this and I love it. And when I go over there, everyone looks like me. I
Yeah.
go up the plane, everyone looks like me with the hair, the glasses. But over here in America, no one looks like me, right? And I love that. So again, I as an image consultant, I can do it all, right? But a lot of people cannot. And I agree with you that folks need to look for services of someone, an executive coach that also does that for the image consulting, but is the impact. So I'm so glad
Hmm.
that you're the only person who has ever brought that up. So I am so happy that you did. So we're talking about fabulous women, which you are one, Michelle, the visibility of the next
Thank you.
generation. When you hear about spaces like Fabulous Women or Fabulous Women Live and leaders like Grace Vanderhei, a 23-year-old nuclear engineer who's also Miss America 2023, she uses her platform differently. What excites you most about this next generation of women leaders?
So I think what excites me the most is that, you look at the nuclear engineer who
Yep.
also has a career in beauty, fashion.
Right.
So she's very well rounded. I think what
Yes.
it shows us is that brilliance comes in many forms, and women don't have to fit a mold. We don't have to wear that navy blue IBM
Right.
type suit, right?
Yes.
We're not in that environment anymore. And I
Right.
think what Fabulous Woman Live and what STEM and programs like that create is a community, not a
Yes.
hierarchy,
Oh, I like
right?
that.
And it shows what the possibilities are for young women that are coming
Right.
up behind us, right? It
Yep.
shows the role model, it shows the successes, and it shows that it is not, as I mentioned prior, just about technology. It's about strategy,
Right.
business operations,
Yep.
and building communities and building trust. And one part that I absolutely love is building the next level leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two more questions for you as we close. Again, you have a family, you've navigated family life and a demanding career. What's one thing that you want working women to stop apologizing for?
Having a full life outside of work,
Okay.
honestly. You can manage both, because you are a strong woman and
Right.
you have the ability to manage that work life balance. And
Yes.
no organization should take that away from you. And that was always a big part of my leadership style. Family comes first. If we're in the middle of a meeting and you get an emergency call from your family member, I'm always encouraging you to pick it up. If you need to
Yeah.
leave, we'll pick up our conversation when you get back.
Right.
Uh, and one other thing is it's okay to ask for support. I think women
Right.
feel like if I ask for support, it's going to be seen as a weakness, but it's not. I always say that I'm not the smartest person in the room. I surround myself by those people
Right.
because it brings different perspectives and different
Right.
outcomes. So you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to always be on
Right.
24/7.
Right.
You don't have to fit that mold of trying to do more to compete with your male peer.
I agree with you completely. So that leads me to my final question. If a woman listening today is standing at a crossroads, unsure whether to step into her authority or stay comfortable, what would you tell her?
Well, I would say that everyone learns by doing, right?
Right.
And what we sometimes do is try to make everything perfect
Yes.
before we move on, and
Yes.
people are just going to pass you by.
Yep.
So, your authority grows by your action, not by you being 100% certain if it's, the right thing to do.
Right.
So take those chances and define the moments that are going to help you grow and achieve your success.
Yeah.
Authority, it's not a title. Everybody says, "Oh, wow, you for the last 20 years you've been a COO." When I meet you at an event or I'm meeting you for the first time, I never use the word COO. I
Mm.
say I'm in operations.
Hmm.
And people laugh. They're like, "Why don't you throw out the title?" Because it's not about the title. It's about the decisions I'm making on a daily basis to
Right.
impact myself and,
Right.
most importantly, impact others.
Right. Wow. So well said, Michelle. What a great interview with you. I learn a lot from you. I've always learned a lot from you in the short time that we've known each other, but this has been really outstanding. I appreciate it. I wanted to thank you so much for being a guest. I do hope that you come back and join us again in some capacity. I look forward to a continued professional relationship working with you. And as I close my Fabulous Women podcast studio episode, I say the same thing, that please pay it forward for all the people watching this or listening to us. If you're a woman or if you're not a woman, it doesn't make any difference. Pay it forward for the younger women coming up in the generation so that they don't have to kick down the doors or punch through the brick walls that we've had to do. It shouldn't be that hard. It should be easy. Women should want to support other women, whether they're the younger generation, whether you're mid-career, whether you're getting close to the end of your career and they're just peers next to you. We should all be helping other women. That's really my call to action. And also, always, I want everyone to stay tuned, watching my episodes, watching me on LinkedIn or on social media. I've got a lot of exciting things coming up. You need to stay tuned. There's a new feature that I started recently called Meet Her. We're in our second week of that. I just posted today where I'm spotlighting women. I always do my podcast where I showcase women as well. But there's more. I will say right now that I do have a live event coming up. Very exciting. A lot going on. We'll give you information where to buy tickets and more. So until next time, everyone, stay fabulous. Thank you.